Leo McKinstry down the line. Leo, thank you so much. Your article in the Daily Mail today, I don't know whether it was a joy to read because it brought out so many facts, or was the most depressing thing I'd ever read that this nonsense is going on. Why isn't it being stopped when ministers, the Chancellor, the Prime Minister even, want it to end?
Yes, it's a bit like Sir Humphrey meets the Socialist Workers' Party, what's happened in Britain. And it's happening after 13 years of Conservative rule. 40 years ago, Ken Livingstone took charge of the GLC, and he introduced a lot of this modern wokery, identity politics, and more obsessed with the composition of your workforce than with actually delivery of the services. And it's amazing this has happened under a Tory government. And the top civil servants seem a law unto themselves, really. They pay no attention, no matter great efforts like you made to change the culture, seem to have very little impact. In a way, the woke politics feeds this culture of entitlement, and they feel that they're on this crusade of social justice, and therefore that they can just ignore the politicians because they've got a higher calling and a greater cause. And as you say, this is now costing over £500 million a year and 10,000 diversity officers.
And it goes across the whole gamut of public services, doesn't it? It's not just Whitehall, but it's local government, it's the police, it's the NHS. The NHS particularly, they were told by their minister, Steve Barclay, to stop having all these diversity people, and then they went out and advertised for a few more, just as if to spite him.
Absolutely. The NHS, it was estimated last year at 800 of these diversity officers. And as you say, when Steve Barclay tried to introduce a moratorium, they just recruited more. And in local government, there's over 800 of them as well. And there's 40 in Leicester County Council, we counted. And it just goes right across the public sector. And it's also, two other consequences of this are, so many public services now see their job is not to actually provide basic services to the public, but to indulge in a form of social engineering and indoctrination and promoting groupthink. And they also have this air of grievance in the workforce because identity politics encourages people to feel like victims. So that's in a way why I've got this explosion in mental health problems, sick leave soaring, and
it's almost, from your article this morning, it's almost as if being a white person is a bad thing. It makes you a bad person by virtue of your race, and they don't see that this in and of itself is discriminatory.
Absolutely. We now have reverse, in some cases, just straight racism against white people right through the public sector. And so many public services now have networks that encourage this identity politics and this cult of victimhood, where people see themselves not as public employees there to provide services to the British people, but they see themselves through the prism of various oppressed characteristics. For example, the Ministry of Defence is a vegan and vegetarian network, a Rastafarian network. The Department of Work and Pensions is a bowel disorder network. Jacob, did you know that the civil service is even setting up an introverts network?
I saw that in your piece, yes. Well, that seems a novel disability, to be an introvert. But thank you so much, Leo.